And now the record is in progress, which means we have started, which means we definitely need to wave if we are on screen. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Paul Jenkins. I am a member of the Empathy Lab team. I'm also a poet, and sometimes I'm known as the man in the silly hat, but not today. I'm not the man in the silly hat today. No. I've got a far more serious job. I am the man in the spangly jacket. Yes, because the man in the spangly jacket is celebrating Empathy Day. And Empathy Day is, of course, a huge day in the calendar. And it's a day today where we are going to celebrate with two amazing people. Now, this session is being brought to you in association with the National Literacy Trust. They have been absolutely fantastic in helping us organise this event. So a massive thank you to them. But who have we got with you today? Well, Joseph Coelho. He's a multi-award-winning writer and poet. He was the UK Children's Laureate between 2022 and 2024, and he has written picture books and poetry and plays, but today he's going to be talking about his brilliant novel, Relic Hamilton. Now, alongside Joseph, we also have the brilliant Elle McNicoll. She is a best-selling novelist. She is a screenwriter. Her debut novel, A Kind of Spark, won countless awards, including the Children's Book of the Year and the Blue Peter Book Award as well. That story was then turned into a fantastic BBC TV series, and today Elle will be sharing a little bit from the prequel to that story, which is the tale of Keedie. Now, both of our writers today had numerous stories featured in the Empathy Lab Read for Empathy book collection, and it is an absolute delight to welcome them both today. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and welcome Joseph and Elle. And I think somebody from the Empathy Lab team is going to highlight all of us so that we're all in roughly the same place. So we're going to be on your screen all together.
Yeah, I don't want the video on Ariane. That's why it's not on.
So, this is, of course, an event run by Empathy Lab. Now, our theme this year for Empathy Day and the Empathy Day Festival is to jump into someone else's story. And we're going to be doing that today with Joseph and Elle. Now, first of all, we would like you to show us how you're feeling. All right. Now, there's lots of ways you can do that. You could do that with happy smiles. You could do that with angry faces. You might be really excited. You could do it with your hands. So on a count of three, I'm going to ask you to do that. And when you've done that, if you can't do that and you haven't got your cameras on, then you can type in, teachers, you can type in the chat how you're feeling today. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and I want you to do your best power pose of how you're feeling today. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Show us how you're feeling. Massive delay on the screen. Excellent. Right. Lots and lots of people. Yeah, we've got smiling faces going on. There's some brilliant stuff coming on there. Excellent. Lots and lots of people chuckling as well, which is quite nice. I'm going to ask our two guests, how are you feeling today? Joseph, Elle, how are you?
Great. Feeling really excited. Happy Empathy Day, everybody. So nice to be with you.
It's such a pleasure to be joining you all today. Happy Empathy Day. And yeah, really looking forward to today's event.
Indeed, and I'm going to hand over to you two because you've got some amazing books, amazing stories, and you absolutely pack your stories with empathy. So I'm going to ask you first of all, empathy. What does it really mean to you as a writer? So, Elle, I'm going to hand over to you first of all. Right, when somebody says to you empathy and writing books, how would you describe it to people?
Well, I think you guys watching this, you may have heard the word empathy before. You may also have heard the word sympathy before. And for me, empathy, I feel it's like if you came across a well in the wood and you look down into the well and there's somebody at the very, very bottom of that well and they're in the dark and they're scared. Sympathy is when you shout down to them and go, "Oh, I'm really sorry about that." And empathy is climbing down into the well and sitting next to them in the dark and saying, "I know exactly what this feels like. I know what you're going through. I see you. I hear you. I feel what you're feeling." That for me is what empathy is. And that's what's great about books is we can recreate that all the time.
It is, and it's this session is about highlighting that. What about you, Joseph? What is empathy like for you?
For me, empathy is really taking that walk in someone else's shoes, like opening up your heart to take time to get to know how another person or group of people are feeling. I think in today's world, we get so concerned about ourselves and our own problems and our own experiences that we leave very little time to think about the other person and other people and what they're going through. And what I've always found is that when you take time to think about others, to take a walk in that wonderful cliche in someone else's shoes, you end up helping yourself as well. I found that time and time again, especially if I get really wrapped up in my own concerns and my own problems and the world starts feeling very heavy. That's often when I think to myself, I know what the problem is here, actually. I'm not taking time to think about others. And then when you take that time to think about others, you find that your problems and your issues as well start to melt a bit, because we all go through very similar things. We all have this sort of shared space that we deny ourselves if we don't look out to our neighbours and communities and society at large.
And between you both, you are empathy activists in that you do something about it by helping us deliver these stories of amazing people who do these things and who are filled with empathy. Elle, now look, we've so many of us have read A Kind of Spark. Some of us haven't quite got around to reading Keedie yet, because Keedie is the prequel to A Kind of Spark. Do you want to tell us about Keedie and about the empathy within your book?
I'll do my best. So, Keedie is, I think, an interesting one for empathy because Keedie is a character who's a little bit naughty, and she is sometimes says things that can definitely be described as not being empathetic, and she has to learn through the book how to adjust that and to connect better with people. But one of the reasons that's hard for Keedie is that she is, like me, and like probably a lot of people watching, she is autistic. And when you're autistic, it means your brain works in a different way, and your relationship with empathy is actually very different. When I was growing up, I was always told that being autistic, like Keedie, and like Addie and A Kind of Spark as well, I was always told that we didn't understand empathy, and that because we were autistic, we didn't know how to be empathetic. And I found that really hard to believe because, again, like Keedie, and like a lot of you guys, I'm sure, I was very emotional. I was very attached to animals, which is one of the biggest signs of empathy is people who love animals. And I liked other people. But being autistic, it was sometimes really hard to express empathy. You could feel it until it fills up your whole body like water fills up a ship. But you had a difficult time sometimes expressing it. And that was difficult. And so that's a little bit of what I explore in Keedie is she's a really good person, but it sometimes comes across to teachers maybe as naughtiness. It sometimes comes across to other kids as her being a little bit too tough, but really inside she's very gooey and soft and full of empathy. And it's about hopefully teaching some people who read the book that are not like me or Keedie that we shouldn't judge people always so much from the outside, and sometimes inside their relationship with empathy and other people presents a little bit differently. But Keedie in the book decides that she wants to put a stop to the bullying problem in her school, which is a very empathetic thing to do because I know a lot of you guys watching might have had struggles with bullies. You might have had a friend that has struggled with a bully. It's really, really common and it happens in every school. And Keedie decides that she wants to put a stop to the bullying in her school, but she learns that it's not quite that easy. And actually having empathy for people who you don't always agree with and who are not like you, and sometimes even having empathy for people you don't like is one of the most powerful things you can do. And Keedie learns that by the end of the book, that having empathy and putting your, as exactly as Joseph says, putting yourself in the shoes of someone who you might not normally want to be friends with, want to sit next to, want to spend time with, understanding where they're coming from. It's almost always impossible for you to still dislike someone after you've really lived in what they live in. So yeah, Keedie is inviting young readers to be in the brain and in the shoes of someone who's a bit different, but who is very empathetic and cares a lot about the world and the people in it.
I love what you said earlier on about feelings filling you up like water in a ship. And so, because that's sometimes like feels like the ship kind of going down with all of those.
Yeah.
I wonder in all of our fantastic people watching, just put your hand up if you ever had feelings growing inside you, and sometimes they just feel a little bit too much. Yeah, yeah, I'm seeing lots of hands going up. Yeah, definitely at hand and definitely yeah, pink class up there on my screen. Yeah, oh, just wonderful. And it's such a lovely description. You can tell you're a writer, El. You should do that for a living. It's good. Now, Mr. Joseph. Mr. Coelho, now you've got something you'd like to share with us about your fantastic book, haven't you? If I introduce you now, Joseph, a brilliant little piece he's going to show you on the screen, and this is where technical. Oh, hello there. Should we introduce a certain burger to the world while we're here?
This is Cheeseburger. He's very empathetic. He's saying hi, I love you guys, and here's
Cheeseburger is one of my favorite dogs in the entire world.
I think. Oh yeah.
There we go. So, Joseph, over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to dive into the world of Relic Hamilton, Genie Hunter, and speak a bit about how empathy sort of relates to Relic and the characters in that book. I'm going to start with a little presentation of Relic Hamilton, Genie Hunter. Of course, when I share my screen, the wonderful Zoom changes for all of you guys. So let me just get that in place and begin. So Relic Hamilton Genie Hunter is all about genies and young Relic who discovers a strange old ancient genie lamp. But I'm hoping that you guys can help me a bit with this story, because I want to find out what you think you already know about genies. If you can pop in the chat what you already know about genies, that would be great, please. And maybe, Paul, you could read out some of the things that they have said, right?
Lots of wishes coming through, some particularly 3 wishes at a time. That they're generally quite happy. They're like a really ghost. That's good.
No. And what about
got old and magical
lamps and bottles? Well done, guys. So you know genies already. We know that they aren't wishes and that they live in lamps. But if you could wish for anything, if you found a genie lamp and you could wish for anything, what would you guys wish for? What would you wish for? Can you let me know in the chat? What would you wish for if you could wish for anything?
Somebody wants a pony.
Oh, nice. I'd love a pony.
Oh, pet cats. And lots of animals again, El. You know, they're all coming through. These are empathetic people.
So I want a cat and I want a dog, but I'm not allowed.
Fast cars.
Of course.
Oh. Peace and a hot tub. I think both of those things can go together.
Oh, got infinite wishes.
Yeah.
And all money in the world.
El, somebody wants cheeseburger.
Take him.
Tickets to Taylor Swift.
Oh, brilliant. Lots and lots of lovely wishes there. We've got some from Selena. So global warming to go away, which is really, really lovely. Because I think that would be a lovely wish to come true, wouldn't it? Right. So, you know, lots and lots about genies, and you've got some great wishes there. I want to hear a little bit about the genies in the world of Relic Hamilton. Now, in this world, we've got good and bad genies. Sometimes the bad genies slip into our world and cause problems. But why are these genies causing problems? Well, it's never as simple as simply having good genies and bad genies. And that's what this whole series is about, as we start to uncover why there was an argument, or really a war, between the good genies and the bad genies hundreds of thousands of years ago. And as a result of that war, the good genies, the so-called good genies, trapped the bad genies in lamps, real bona fide lamps Just like this lamp here that you can see now, this is a real lamp from a very special place called Amazon. I got it from a site in Amazon called Onaline. They're very, very rare. This is a prime example of a genie lamp. Now, the bad genies in the story, at the start of the story, are known as Ravenites. And the good genies got together and said, these Ravenites are causing lots of problems. They're slipping into the human world, causing the humans problems. So the good genies got together and put the bad genies into lamps. And then they gave those lamps to humanity. And they said to humanity, we've solved your genie problem for you. Here are some magical lamps. And if you rub the lamps, the bad genies will come out. But we have made it so they have to grant you 3 wishes. But don't wish for more than 3 wishes. If you make more than 3 wishes, then you risk the bad genie gaining enough power to escape his lamp. So this is where we start the story off, with Relic discovering and accidentally releasing the king of all the Ravenites, who is, of course, Ravener. Now, when Relic releases Ravener, something else happens. He becomes magically bonded to 6 sprite lamps. Those sprite lamps surround him, hover around his waist, giving him superhero powers, the power to defeat evil genies wherever they go. But what about Ravener's lamp? What happens to that? Well, Ravener's lamp gets picked up by Taya. Now, Taya is feeling a bit left out at school. She's getting bullied at school, and she discovers this lamp and she rubs it, and Ravener comes out, and because Ravener is quite cunning, he starts to whisper in her ears, starts to convince her to make bad wishes, wishes that are going to hurt other people. And that's why Relic has to go out using his special powers and not only try and stop Ravener, but also try and save Taya. And this was really important to me when reading the book. I didn't want it to be a simple case of good and bad. We start off with that sort of good and bad notion, but we very quickly start to erode that away when we start to see why the bad genies are doing what they are doing. And in fact, when Relic is looking for Taya, he has to go undercover at one point in Taya's school. He has to go undercover to try and find out who it is that are making these wishes. When he finally meets Taya, he suddenly becomes very concerned for her and her safety, even though she's the one going off making all these bad wishes. He very quickly realizes, using his skills of empathy, very quickly realizes that she is a victim as well. And indeed, the evil genies, the so-called evil genies, may also be victims, because it is never a case of simply good or bad genies. Now, Relic, of course, needs help when he is out in the world, looking at helping the world by defeating genies that are causing problems. And he gets help from the Hermetic Sodality of Genie Hunters. Now, this is a secret organization of archaeologists that spend their time defeating genies. This is the logo for the organization. And I've got a question for you guys watching. This logo is based on the bottom of an animal. Can you have a guess at what animal bum this logo is based on? What animal bum do you think? Do you want to pop it in the chat? What animal bum do you think it is based on? Oh, we've got baboons, chickens. They're really good guesses. Baboon, especially lion, cat, monkey, peacock, elephant, owl, chimp. More baboons, more lions. Wonderful. Frog. Oh, you know what? No one's got even close yet. You're not even close. Dragon. Nope. Right, I'm going to tell you. It is, of course, look away if you don't like creepy crawlies, because it is, of course, a spider. And this is a real spider. It's called Cyclocosmia ricketi. It's the Chinese hourglass spider. And it's got that hard disc on its back end, which it uses to protect itself when it digs burrows. So that is the rear end that the logo of the Hermetic Sodality of Genie Hunters is based on. Now, Hermetic Sodality of Genie Hunters, there's a lot of big words in that. So I'm going to tell you what some of them mean. Hermetic means any person living in seclusion. Genie Hunters are secretive. Sodality means a fellowship or an association, because there are chapters of the Hermetic Sodality of Genie Hunters all over the world. And of course, Genie Hunters are those who trap and snare, capture, net and snag any evil genies that are up to no good, using genie traps that are disguised as fidget spinners. And you can see Relic here with his fidget spinner trap. So Relic isn't alone in the Hermetic Sodality of Genie Hunters. He has help. There's the professor who runs the organization, and he loves his books. He loves reading. He's very good at magic and genie lore, and his empathy superpower is knowledge. He likes to look at every person and situation from all angles before coming to a conclusion. And then there's Rafaela. She's the tech specialist, and she built the Aladdin, the Hermetic Society of Genie Hunters high-tech jet, which can go invisible. It has a library on board. It has a medical wing to help people out. And her empathy superpower is using her technical know-how to help others feel safe and protected. And then we have Rania. Rania is half genie, half human. And her empathy superpower is having a brilliant bedside manner, because she is a trained doctor and she helps people look after themselves. And at one point, Relic's grandfather becomes seriously ill, and it's down to Rania to help him get better. So that, in a nutshell, is the world of Relic Hamilton Genie Hunter. But I'm aware of time, so I'm just going to quickly jump ahead because Relic has these special friends that give him superhuman powers in these sprite lamps that hover around his waist. And one of those sprites is called Gamba. And this is Gamba here. Now, Gamba is a genie sprite. So genie sprites are like animals from the genie world. And he's his empathetic friend. He's got see-through fur on his chest so you can see his heart beating. And Gamba comes out of his sprite lamp whenever Relic needs a friend, needs an empathetic friend. So whenever Relic needs emotional support, then that's when Gamba comes out and gives Relic the support that he needs. But there are other sprites as well. Sprites like Gamba that give Relic the protective bubble so he can protect himself and others. There's Lakshmi, a jaguar-headed warrior with 4 arms with a sword in each arm. And there's Mega Sprite. When all those sprites come together, then Relic can control a huge, powerful being to help him protect and save those he loves and cares about, and the public in general. So that, in a nutshell, is a little introduction to Relic Hamilton Genie Hunter and how Relic uses empathy to save the day.
That's awesome, Joseph. That's it sounds like a real adventure. And also I love as well that there's all sorts of little similarities between some of the things that Addy or Keedie might do in your books, Elle. And there's, it's lots of animals, and there's the way that people connect with each other. There's a little bit of magic from time to time as well. And that's, I think, what empathy is, isn't it? It's, people sometimes call empathy a superpower, the way that we can feel something with somebody else. I mean, your characters do that all the time, Elle, don't they? Oh,
just quickly unmuting. Yes, I think so. I think as well, because I write about kids that sometimes the world doesn't have a lot of empathy for. I think they have tons of empathy because they know what it feels like to be left out, to be left behind, to be forgotten about sometimes, to be talked over. And when you've been through a lot of that, I think you never want to see anybody else go through that. So a lot of the kids I write about, and especially a lot of the kids I meet when I talk about these books and I meet the children that like these books, one thing I've noticed that every child has in common is they are empathetic. They are deeply empathetic, sometimes so much that they can get really overwhelmed by empathy. And it's the most interesting thing is that something I put in the books, whether I mean to or not, brings it out in the kids I get to meet. And that is the thing I'm proudest of, I think, is that all the children I meet are incredibly kind and empathetic and care about each other.
And this is why jumping into somebody else's story is so important, because when you're caring about other people and when you're being empathetic about other people, learning about as many different people as you can and all their perspectives is really important. Now, the thing about empathy, as you said earlier, is it's about reaching into the hole and kind of helping somebody else out. And that's where the empathy challenge comes in. And we're going to do one of the empathy challenges together now. Now, this is something you can all do in class together later. And of course, there's 9 empathy challenges altogether. And there's loads and loads of films that you can watch of great authors doing them over the course of the festival. But today, we are going to make an empathy resolution. Now, that is a really small thing that might help 1 or 2 people. It might help somebody in your friend, or somebody in your school, or it might help your family, or somebody in your community, or maybe it might help the whole world. And so I'm going to ask Joseph, if you could do one little empathy resolution quickly, what would you do?
My empathy resolution is to, I regularly keep a notebook and make notes every evening. And what I want to do is to just ask myself every evening, what could I do differently tomorrow? How can I open up myself to be more kind? Is there just to reflect back on the days, on how the day has gone, how I've interacted with people, and just to ask myself that question: what can I do differently the next day? Because I think we're all on a learning journey, and the more we kind of reflect back on our behavior, on how we've handled situations, then we can know better and do better the next time round.
Kind of nice. It's like a daily check-in, just to kind of go, you know what, let's do today, and then like tomorrow we'll see how that goes as well, and it'll be another little learning journey. Wonderful. Elle, what's your empathy resolution for this year?
I think my empathy resolution, which I think Keedie really needs to learn as well, is empathy for everybody. So I think at the moment, everyone in the world can see that sometimes if we disagree with someone, or if they are on another side of an issue maybe that we are on, we cut all our empathy for them. And actually it's quite easy to be empathetic and kind to people who are nice to us and agree with everything that we say. It's very difficult to be empathetic to people who don't like us and who don't agree with what we say. But I want to do more of that. So maybe you guys have someone in your class that you just don't get along with, but I don't think that's reason enough to not have empathy for them. So I'm going to challenge myself to have much more empathy for people who are very different to me and who believe very different things to me. And I hope that can be more helpful than also being empathetic to people who like me and agree with everything that I say, because that's lovely too. But I want to extend empathy to people who are very different to me this time around.
I think that's amazing. Is it, you know, if we can all do that, I think that would shift a huge things. We'd have so many less arguments. Look, we've got a little bit of time just at the end. Thank you so much for those. We've had lots and lots of questions coming. There's one here from Woodlands Academy. Their year threes are here, and they've asked if you could jump into someone else's story, and I think you're not allowed to say your own, right? Whose would it be and why? So, whose story would you jump into and why? That's to both of you.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I would jump into Anne of Green Gables.
Oh,
And she needs a little bit of empathy in the beginning of her story. I'd put an arm around her and say, hey, you don't have to yell at everybody. You don't have to break your slate over this person's head. I think I would want to be friends with her. And there's a lot of empathetic characters in that children's book. And it's empathy is explored in that story in ways that aren't always obvious. So I think Anne of Green Gables.
a classic tale as well. Excellent. We've gone highbrow this afternoon on Empathy Day. Joseph, what about you?
I would jump into J.T. Williams' The Lizzie and Belle Mysteries, which is a wonderful sort of murder mystery middle grade. And I love Lizzie and Belle because they are historical characters, two black teenagers that were around in the 1700s, and they sort of solve an attempted murder mystery in a theatre. But yeah, they go through their trials and tribulations, as you'd expect, living in the time they were living in. So I would jump into that story and join them on their adventure and be there for help and support as they try and work out who the potential murderer is.
That's yeah, I think these are great stories. This is Empathy Day. It's all about books. It's all about reading and stories. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite day of the year. Now, one more quick question. Now, this was originally sort of for Joseph, because you wrote a book called Luna Loves Gardening, and one of our schools has been focusing on that. I think it's Cumnor Primary. Now, we talked about empathy for animals. Can you have empathy for plants and enjoying gardening? And just, is it, what, do you love gardening to start with, was their question?
I mean, that's a brilliant question. I love gardening. I mean, I'm saying that, I need to work on I've got a new garden. I need to take all the weeds out and get stuff. I'm very passionate about gardening. I'm part of the Heritage Seed Club, where you get sent heritage seeds to ensure that seeds survive year on year. So you can definitely show empathy to plants and seeds, because we are losing lots of our heritage varieties of seeds that have survived through families and communities over generations. Unfortunately, we are losing those. So the more that we can get those seeds and swap seeds and plant out some of your favorite seeds, you can keep those plants alive. And I think that's a great way to show empathy for the natural world, and realizing that the natural world is going through a huge amount of challenges. And that's a little thing that we can do on our windowsill, on our balconies, or indeed in our gardens.
Oh, you must get outside with Cheeseburger an awful lot. So I would imagine, you're out in nature a fair bit.
Yeah, I am. And I think nature is the ultimate example of empathy, because I think about that wonderful tree, the sycamore gap. I don't know if you guys knew about it, and it was cut down. But the amazing thing is, so many people felt for that tree, and the tree is starting to grow back. So there's so much hope in nature as well. And I think plants and trees and growth and renewal, and it's a really beautiful thing. It's almost like our planet is full of empathy, and no matter what happens to it, it keeps coming back. So, yes, I absolutely feel a ton of empathy whenever I'm in nature. I'm from Scotland. I'm used to nature.
Indeed. So yeah, you've got nature, you've got weather, you've got geography, you've got everything up there. It has been absolutely wonderful speaking to both of you today. By the way, Joseph, I think that sycamore tree, I think there's some heritage seeds have been captured from that tree. So you may end up with a little piece of that sycamore tree at some point or another in your club. I want to say a massive thank you to both Elle and to Joseph, and of course to everybody who has been involved with the project today. All of the schools that have been with us, thank you very much for joining us. Now, if you want to watch this again, you can go to empathylab.uk and it'll be up very, very soon. Of course, you can take part in all of the Empathy Day Festival activities. They're all up online. And please do share. At Empathylab UK is our tag on socials. And if you use hashtag Empathy Day Festival, then we'll be able to share it as wide as we possibly can and educate an empathy-educated generation. And you guys are the ones to do it. Thank you very much again to Joseph Coelho.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to Elle.
Thank you. Bye.
And we'll see you soon, everybody. Thank you very much indeed.
Bye. Bye. And right, but get your chairs under. And let's go library now for some bath making.